Imagine living in a world where you can't go to the beach in the summer, have snowball fights in the winter, or even walk outside in the spring without a respirator on, just because of the weather. We're seeing the effects of global warming today in the extremes of hot and cold, as well as more extreme weather. But the biggest problem about global warming is the long-term effects that we don't see yet. And it is a big priority to take a stance now and later, because it'll only get harder to stop the problems that are being caused. Now, by filling in some of the educational gaps on global warming and the effects of it, hopefully we can find the solution now and try and persuade the population to move in the science way of government and policy, to take a stand that way instead of ignoring the fact that global warming is a thing. So, for global warming, our environment has been abused by the infrastructure and poor habits of businesses with gas emissions over since the last industrial revolution decades ago. The amount of fossil fuels have increased greatly, and the amount of gas emissions from automobiles have also climbed to an all-time high. But and all those gases are going into the atmosphere, into the ozone, and is damaging it. And what that is doing is it is making it harder to filter out the UV rays from the sun and other stars in the galaxy. But the biggest problem with that is changing the weather significantly, and it is raising sea levels, causing flooding everywhere, causing more hurricanes, more natural disasters, and more extreme heat and cold. People don't realize that it can actually affect the cold because of the word global warming, but that's a misunderstanding. It's a common misunderstanding, and that is why the lack of education on global warming and what these fossil fuels are doing needs to grow. We need to help people learn what is going on with science today, and with how all these companies and businesses dispose of these gases. And one big fix right now that we are working on that Toyota, that Iceland, and a bunch of other companies are working on is a hydrogen fuel cell. So what that does is it causes energy to come from hydrogen fueled batteries, because of what it allows us to do is you have hydrogen gas, and with an excess of oxygen, which we have plenty of, it's all in the atmosphere, and with the mix of that, you were able to remove some of the electrons from the hydrogen and use that to power batteries other than burning fuels. So hydrogen fuel cells have zero emissions, absolutely zero. And why this needs to be a thing is because it needs more research, it needs more money, and it needs more infrastructure to implement the hydrogen fuel cells. And these batteries can be used for anything to be powered, anything. But the biggest problem right now with hydrogen fuel cells is that it is expensive to create. And because the biggest problem is creating that hydrogen gas for those batteries. And to create that, the easiest way is by burning fossil fuels. So that doesn't help at all. But the next best way is solar energy and wind energy. And with that, you can still have 100% clean energy for these hydrogen fuel cells. But what we need is that is expensive, and we need more research to be put in that to grow and study, to also add more infrastructure in solar energy and wind energy. And right now, Iceland, they implemented a 40-year plan in 1989 to have a full hydrogen-based economy by the end of that plan. And most of that is based on hydrogen fuel cells. So in order to do that, most of their plan is actually just implementing solar energy and wind energy, because that is the most clean and the best way to decrease emissions is by renewable energy. So completely just getting rid of fossil fuels, which is 78% of the gases emitted into the atmosphere from factories, all the other things in the world. And so this is the next step in the right direction of Iceland trying to be fully revolved around renewable energy. And that is just one part being played in the fight against global warming, though. But in the overall movement is, since it is a long-term problem and it needs more than just one solution to fix it, is that you need to, what a lot of people look past is they don't see the problem now because people like to only fix the problems that they see now, and that is the biggest problem about it. And you need to look towards the future and your children's future in order to secure a healthy environment. And because everyone is like just like in biology says that everyone and everything is a product of their environment. And if you don't take care of that environment, then you're not taking care of the future or your children's future. And so what we need is more people to vote and more policies that promote science and the research and representatives with science-based legislation. And with that, we can help educate others as well to show the actual impacts of what these fossil fuels are doing to our atmosphere. So maybe by regulating emissions from car companies and other businesses with high fossil fuels, we can start moving in that direction of trying to implement more automobiles with renewable energy, which would be the hydrogen fuel cell, which is the highest working right now, which Toyota just released this year a model that is a hydrogen fuel cell, and it's called the Toyota Mirai. And it is the first car that has hydrogen fuel cell. There are electric cars out there. There's also the hydrogen fuel cell, which has even less gas emissions, which is zero for hydrogen fuel. Now, instead of leaving this problem to the next generation, we need to start it now, because the more damage that is done is the longer that it'll take to fix it. So I hope that this is able to change your mind and implement more policies in a science-based government to help limit the damage we're doing now and try and reverse the problems that are happening.